Good evening. How are you doing? You look good. I'm glad that you're here. This is going to be an amazing, amazing evening. And I would like to go ahead and welcome you to South Bay Church, but this is an event that has nothing to do with South Bay. We're just hosting. But I would like to open in prayer. So why don't we go ahead and bow our heads together. Father, I just want to thank you for the opportunity for us to gather and to learn. It's such a good thing to be equipped. It's such a good thing, Lord, for us to be in a place where we are teachable. And God, there's really none better than those who are going to be leading tonight. And I'm so grateful that they're here. I'm grateful that we are able to gather together. But Lord, even more important than them is your son, Jesus. Jesus, you are the greatest leader that this world has ever known. You went before every human being, and you demonstrated what love really is. So tonight, as we listen and we learn, we know that every good thing comes from you. Every good leadership attribute is born out of your love and your heart for all of humanity. So we're grateful to be here tonight, and we're grateful that you are investing into us. So we receive that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So this is the Forward Leadership Summit. And I know that tonight you're here to listen and to learn, and I'm excited. I would like to find out a little bit about you guys, if that's all right. Who drove for more than maybe 25 miles to be here? Can I see your hand? 50 miles. 75 miles. So go back to 50. Where are you guys from? Northport, my goodness, that's a long way away. Well, I'm glad that you're here tonight. And I recognize some of you friends. I'm glad that you're here. Speaking of friends, I have met a new friend tonight, Brett Ord, and he's going to be introducing our keynote speaker tonight. But as I was listening to him backstage, what an amazing businessman, passionate about leadership. And without any further ado, I would love to invite him out on the platform to begin our evening. Can you all welcome him with me? Your mic up?
Okay. Got that one. They got this. Got it on? Do we have? There we go. They got this shorted, so whenever I sit down there. I appreciate everybody coming tonight. I look forward to speaking to you and getting to know each one of you. We've got our first person that's coming on. She's from Turning Point USA. Do me a favor. Welcome, Emily McCutcheon.
Well, hey, y'all. This is such an honor to have been invited to this event to speak to you guys. I'm very grateful that Brett had asked me to come tonight. So just to reintroduce myself, my name is Emily Bird McCutcheon. I am the Gulf Regional Manager for the #1 conservative youth organization in America, Turning Point USA. So some of you may have heard about Turning Point USA, maybe not. But it was started by a guy named Charlie Kirk back in 2012 when he was just 18 years old. So keep in mind, this organization is only 11 years old, and we have grown leaps and bounds. We have Turning Point USA chapters in all 50 states. So when Charlie started this organization, again, back when he was just 18 years old, he realized that in our current modern American political system, there is only one side that was really focused on influencing the values of our youth. And unfortunately, that was the side that was really focused on censorship and focused on getting young people to have a distaste for our country. Now, obviously, a country that has people who don't like it cannot succeed long term, right? So our goal here at Turning Point USA is to get young people to love America again, to get young people to understand that having a civil discussion with somebody that you disagree with is actually such a powerful tool. This is how we create solutions within our country and move everything forward. This is how we make things better. Now, I know the censorship thing sometimes sounds like, oh, that doesn't happen, right? Well, unfortunately, this is happening all across the country. This is happening in high schools. This is happening on our college campuses all over America. So just to share a personal example with you guys, when I had first started working with Turning Point USA, I went onto a college campus with a group of our young conservative students, and we just set up a table and we were inviting other students to come and talk to us about current political issues. So these are things that greatly impact the society that we all live in and the society that these students are going to go into when they graduate and have to, get a job and really build their foundation for life. So after we set up this table on campus, we were opening up a discussion, right, just to have that civil debate. And as we're doing so, we noticed that the students that disagreed created a shoulder-to-shoulder human wall in front of our table to shut down our speech. Now, unfortunately, not only did this shut down our speech, but the students who wanted to come and have that civil discussion, ask questions, find out our points of view, or even share their own that may be different, and allow us to have a conversation about why they believe what they believe, that debate, that conversation was shut down. It was censored on this college campus. Now, when everything was said and done, the administrators sided with the students who had shut down our speech. And this is an event that had been previously approved by the school. Unfortunately, our conservative students on that campus did not have the backing by their university, which is sad. So in response to this, Turning Point USA worked with our students, and we had them present their testimony in front of Louisiana legislators. This school specifically was in New Orleans, Louisiana. They presented their testimony in front of these legislators, asking for equal protections for both liberal and conservative students on their college campuses so that we could reopen these civil discourses. And because of our students' testimony, that bill was passed. Now, thank you. Now, that is just a small snapshot of what Turning Point USA is doing across the country. And with that, we are encouraging students to not only use their voice, but to have the courage to stand up for their convictions and for their country. So, you're probably wondering, how do we do this? How do we reach so many college students? Well, our primary factor is we do campus groups or campus chapters, right? So students are able to create their own community, their own club on campus, where they can work with our staff members in every single state across the country to bring speakers to campus, host meetings, do fun social events with their friends, and again, open that door of communication. So while I'm up here, I would love to introduce a few of our staff members that we actually have in the crowd today from our high school department, Miss Abby. We have Caleb Glenn from our college department. He actually oversees Central Florida. And then Chip Moore from our faith department. So I personally am so grateful for these three, as well as the rest of our staff members across the country. These are the people and the faces that work one-on-one with these students to build their personal confidence, their leadership skills, and really help ground them in their values and their worldview. So when they leave college, they have that, they can go confidently into the next chapter of their lives. So with Turning Point USA, another thing that we do pretty heavily is we work through conferences. We have a program where we can help students get to, or from, I guess I should say, Central Florida all the way to Phoenix to hear from some of the biggest speakers in the movement. Now, whenever we do this, we really encourage our students to build that community and essentially create a group of people that they're going to want to travel the country with, right? To go to these types of events and hear from these big speakers. And we just encourage them to do that and build that community. So with that said, if you guys have any questions at all, I really encourage you to either go to our website, teepusa.com, or after this event, we will be set up outside in that room with some of our tables and materials to really educate you guys. Maybe you have college students, or you're a parent, you're a grandparent, or you might be a student yourself, a high school student, college student, and you want to get more information. These are the faces that you're going to want to talk to. You can come find me after as well, and we can get you guys plugged in. So with that said, I would love to introduce, or reintroduce, I guess I should say, our next speaker, Brett Oob. He is a very successful CEO and author. So without further ado, Brett Oob.
I was told to sit down, so I have a tendency to pace. So if I sit down, then I won't have a situation where I'm pacing all the time. Is this in my face too much? Is that better? This is kind of what I wanted to put together this for. Is one, I wanted John to come here and be able to teach us and talk to us about leadership, but I wrote this book, 12 Steps of Boundaryless Success, and this book is kind of the debut, or this event is kind of the debut to that book. And what I wanted to do is kind of share with you what drove me to write this book, what drove me to write this particular subject matter, and then kind of give you a little teaser about what's in it, so hopefully you'll take it and purchase it and read it. I wanted to be an author. I started wanting to be an author probably when I was 5, 6 years old. And as the idea was born and I started marinating that idea and got a little more mature in wisdom, it became more than writing a book. It became impacting people's lives. You know, it became that as I was wanting to make an impact, obviously doing speaking, we get to impact the people in the room, but we don't get to impact people worldwide, or we don't get to impact people nationwide, or we don't get to impact more folks than the ones that are in the room unless we have a manuscript or a text that people can open and read. I don't know about you. I've read professionally for a long time, and when I'm sitting in my living room and I'm looking at these books, it's almost like they're talking to me and going, now Brett, now Brett, now Brett, now Brett, if that makes any sense to you. And so the idea was born there, and as I turned 20, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it when I'm 25. When I turn 25, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it when I'm 30 because I'm busy and I've got all these things going. And then when I turn 35, I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, Brett. You're going to be okay. You got plenty of time left. You can do it when you're 40. That'd be a good time. People would actually, give you more credibility because you've had some life behind you. Then all of a sudden, you're 40. Then I start giving myself a pass. Well, I got a lot going on. Probably next year. Then when I'm 43 years old, I get ready to go to a football game, have a seizure, and realize I have a brain tumor. Then all of a sudden, all the things that I wanted to do, you see, I knew I wasn't going to live forever. Right? I think we all know that we're not going to live forever, but we all think that we just have a little more time than what we have. And at that very minute when I realized, because I always said, hey, I'm going to go to 100, and I would think in my mind, I'm 40, I still got 60 years to go. I got plenty of I'm sorry if I'm bothering y'all with that mic, because I'm bothering myself with it. You know, if I'm 40, I got 60 years to go, so I got plenty of time. When it hits it and it's 43, and you know, at that moment, when I had that, I got rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and within 45 minutes, the doctor came in and said, hey, you have metastasis brain cancer. You got 6 months to live. So all of this kind of flashes before your eyes in that very moment. Well, fortunately, he was a excited ER physician that was a couple of years out of school, and he was mistaken in his diagnosis. Right? But it accelerated that thought process for what I wanted to accomplish at that very moment. I'm like, okay, Brett, if you want to do what you're going to do, time is compressing. Time is compressing. Think about your age now, and if you know, part of what this book says is, and part of what is it falling again? Yeah. Maybe you tighten it up. There you go. Part of what this book talks about, and part of what this book, the reason behind the book, is the 12 steps to boundaryless success. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you go to bed at 12 o'clock at night, and that's not what it is. It's 12 principles. I think it's falling again. Does this need to be tight? Or should I just hold it? Would it be better if I just? Okay. The 12 steps to boundaryless success is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process in the respect that, like I said, if you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you do 10 push-ups and you read 10 chapters in the Bible, that's not what it is. Because everybody's version of success is going to look a little different. What the 12 steps gives you is fundamental principles that you can take and apply to your life, use your particular style, and apply those things to your life to be successful. Because you see, what's my experience has been, and what's happened to me is, I had very little mentorship at all till much later in life. My method of learning was, I'd get up, I'd go run into that wall, lack of a better example. I would bust my head open and go, okay, let me look at this experience. Let me see what I learned from it, and then go back and try to move forward. And so where my heart was is if I could share some steps and some principles that I learned along the way, I could help people get further faster. They could apply these to the life, and they could use my mistakes and leverage them. And not only my mistakes, the other people that have mentored me, and use some of theirs, and I don't have to learn those things either. Because you see, if you're anything like me, when you got started, you didn't want to hear anybody's opinions. You didn't want to, or at least that was my experience. I knew how I was going to do it. I knew that I was super talented, and I had my own ideas. And what I've come to learn is that if I take other people's ideas and I leverage it, I can go further faster. I can extend that runway. Because the runway is very, very short if I only use my mistakes, and I'm never going to get to where I want to go in that regard. And so the brain tumor kind of accelerated that and go, okay, I have all these goals, I have all these dreams, and have all these aspirations, and now it's time stamped. I got to get going, or something's going to happen as it related to the brain tumor, and I'm not going to get finished. So I started that day. As I would get back from rehab those days, I would come home. I'd get up in the morning. I'd go back to the office. Incidentally, I had brain surgery on a Friday. I went back to the office on Monday. Okay, I wasn't going to sit around and wallow. I was ready to go. And I'd get up in the morning. I'd go to the office. Then I'd go to physical therapy, and I'd be worn out. I'd come home. I'd sit down in the chair, sleep for an hour and 45 minutes. I'd get up and I would journal in my pad. What do I want to be when I grow up? And I kept coming back as I wanted to lead, train, motivate, and mentor people. I'm in the auto business, And then I said, I want to be an author, a motivational speaker, and I want to impact people's lives to help them get further faster. And I took out a piece of paper that day, and I wrote the outline for this book. And I said, okay, we're getting started. We're ready to go. Well, guess what? Nothing happened. I took that outline, and I put it in a briefcase, and immediately, once the pain wore off, once the things started healing, once I went to the doctor and got a couple of good reports, I went right back to what I was doing before. I'll get that done in 3 months. I'll get that done in 6 months. I'll get that done in 12 months. Now, here's one of the things you got to understand is we all do that. We have this crisis moment. Everybody in this room on December the 31st is going to sit down and go, I'm going to eat as much food as I can. I'm going to drink as much alcohol as I can, right? I'm going to start, at the beginning of the Christmas season, I'm not going to worry about my budget. I'm going to load my credit cards up. I'm going to spend all the cash that I got in my wallet. And come January 1st, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start saving my money. I'm going to start watching what I eat. And I'm going to do all those things. But guess what? We do that every time there's a crisis moment in our life. And the only thing that changes the tide is once the emotion wears off, I put the commitment down and I follow that commitment no matter what. And in this particular situation, once the emotion wore off, I went right back to what I was doing. And then after about every 6 months, I started getting that conviction again. And I would start I remember I'd take out my manual and I'd start writing the chapter. I should have brought them. I was looking at them the other day, and I still have the first 3 or 4 pages I wrote, and I just woke up that morning and I go, okay, I'm going to start writing this book, and I just started writing jibber jabber. And some of it makes sense, most of it we didn't use. And then I would finish for the morning. I'd go, okay, I've started writing my book. And here's something else to learn, is that if we ever trade activity for productivity, we're manipulating ourselves, right? Because I was trading activity for productivity. I could go home that day and go, well, I woke up this morning and I read my devotion and I spent 45 minutes writing that book. And I'm going to spend another 45 minutes this week writing that book. And look, and who's the biggest forgiver of me? Me, right? I can sit down and go, well, I meant to write on Monday, but you don't understand. I had a busy day, and I had the meeting, and I had to meet with this person, I had to meet with that person. I had to go to church, I had to spend time with my family. My wife wanted me to do this. My husband wanted me to do that. And then Friday comes, and I didn't write. But I could forgive myself, and I could trade activity for productivity because supposedly I was moving it forward. Then another year passed. And one of the reasons we launched this in Tampa is I came to Tampa. It was right after the coronavirus hit. And we decided, me and some other business leaders, I have some friends here in Tampa, me and some other business leaders, we decided that we were going to do leading in a crisis situation. We were going to serve business leaders and we were going to serve business executives and CEOs and bless them with a conference. We brought John in. We did it all over video conference because nobody wanted to touch each other. And, some of us came and we were in the room in Tampa, and I sat next to somebody. David Villa, my friend back there on the back row, we were doing it in his conference room. It was David and I's idea. And I sat next to somebody and I started talking to her. And she inspired me to go, and she didn't inspire me to write the book. She didn't say, hey, I need you to write the book. But I started realizing she had the skills to push me forward to actually do it. Because you see, this is another lesson, is the reason that I was not finishing is because my talent wasn't necessarily sitting there and giving myself an itinerary and executing on something where you sit down. The reason I told you I sat down here is because when I'm on the phone, I'm pacing. When I'm walking around the house, I'm pacing. And if you moved this chair right now, I'd be pacing with this microphone. That's not conducive to taking a piece of paper and a pad and writing a book. So if I wanted to achieve that goal, what I've got to do is I've got to bring people alongside of me that make up for my weaknesses, and then I got to realize that it doesn't make me good, bad, or indifferent if I have other people do what I can't do, and if I can do what they can't do. And that's a valuable principle. It sounds very simple. It's very difficult to execute because it goes against what happens is my mind, as I become a high achiever, I think I can do anything, right? Most of us in here that are high achievers, they go, I can figure that out. I can do stuff that other people can't do. But the question you got to ask yourself, are you the best person to do those things? I kept thinking in myself that, hey, I can write this book, and I got to be the best person because it's coming out of me. But guess what? I wasn't the best person. And what I ended up doing is I made a relationship with somebody, and I gave them the outline, and I sat down, and we turned on a recorder, and they started asking me questions, and I started articulating what the content of the book was going to say, what the content of the book was going to be. And then we took it, and we started reducing it down to what the chapters of the book. Selah, who's sitting on the front row right there, you'll see her in the forward of the book, was instrumental in keeping me on task to say, no, here's where we got to go. No, here's where we got to go. Now, these are my words. But that's how we got to the end result and to the end road. And so what I would invite everybody in the room, if you're struggling with something that you're trying to get over the hump and get done, bring in people that are better at you that do it, and bring in people that are willing to hold you accountable, and then be willing to listen to their accountability when they give it to you. See, forever, I've ran businesses for quite a long time, and forever, I hated my accounting people because the accounting side of the business, even though I understand it, you got to sit down and you got to go through all that details. I didn't want to go through the details, right? It's not that I mentally hated them. No, I hated the exercise that they wanted me to do. So what I would do is I would go out and hire people that I got along with, that I liked, and that would tell me what I wanted to hear rather than what I needed to hear. My accounting became a mess. And the last person I had working for me under those particular circumstances stole $85,000 from me. Why did they do that? Because I set myself up for failure by bringing the people that weren't talented and by bringing people that basically set me up for failure. I set myself up for failure. So what I started doing was hiring people, and I've said this to a couple of my accounting people, and that, when they first hear me say it, they get a little off-put, and then as they get to know me, they're not off-put. I said, if my accounting person doesn't get on my nerves, then I've got the wrong person. But it's not get on my nerves because I don't like them as people. It's because they're holding me accountable to the details. And how that translates to what we're talking about is you got to bring somebody alongside of you that's going to hold you accountable for something that you need to move the ball forward, and that's going to irritate you. Because see, if I go back to the lesson of the writing the book, I didn't move the ball forward because the easiest person to forgive me is me. And I could get to the end of the day, and I could make all the excuses, and I can make the excuses work in my mind for it to be okay. And so I set on that task to write the book, and I got probably 3/4 of the way through. And then I set the book down, and I started doing nothing with it. And I started giving myself all the excuses, all the reasons, and I did the same thing again. How does that translate to that tonight? If we lose focus and we don't keep that in front of our eyes, even though we start having some movement and start having success, we can rubber band and go right back to where we started. Yet it's even harder because it's more difficult to start over again because it feels redundant and repetitive. How many people have started something, a project, a diet, educational program, and you do well, and you think, man, I'm really starting to make a change, and for whatever reason, you give yourself an excuse tonight, you give yourself an excuse tomorrow, and then before you know it, you're not doing it anymore. How difficult, she does, how difficult is it to put yourself back on that path than when you did it the first time? See, when you did it the first time, you were excited. Even though it was difficult to start, you were excited. You were getting into the unknown. There was the kind of the nervous energy, the excitement about learning something. But when you got to get back on track, you already know some of the things that you dread. You already know some of the things that are going to become redundant, some of the things that are going to become repetitive, and where the excitement is going to wear off. One of the things you're going to see in the 12 steps is the difference between people who make it all the way and the people that quit in the middle are the ones that once the excitement wears off, they still hold themselves accountable on a daily basis. But in order to do that, you have to figure out what your goals, your dreams, your aspirations are, and then you got to go back to what you would do when you were a child. See, when we're children, what do? We dream, right? We think of all the possibilities. You hear little kids say, Mommy, Daddy, this is what I want to be when I grow up, and this is what I'm going to look like, and this is what we're going to do. When I say this is what we're going to look like, I mean whatever is their end result that they want to be, and this is what we're going to do. And they play games, and their minds are just moving in any direction. But as we age, what do? We start looking at the reasons that it's not going to work rather than the reasons it's going to work. And it may be a situation that happened to us. It may be a failure that we've had happen. Or it may be we've just started letting fear creep into our life because now we know what we didn't know. And in order to change that dynamic, and you'll see it in step 1, what we have to do is figure out what our goals, our dreams, and our aspirations, and then mentally start putting ourselves in success in our mindset, intentionally visualizing and focusing on that. All the way down to how it's going to feel when I achieve that. I met this lady a few minutes ago. She's a real estate person. You do the same thing, right? When you want to sell this house or you want to sell this building or whatever it is, you start thinking about what the day is going to feel like when I sign that contract, when I'm sitting at that closing, when I hear the recognition of saying, she sold that, or I hear the recognition of I'm the number one agent. Not just that I am the number one agent, but what it feels like. How I feel whenever I'm sitting in a room full of people getting recognized. How I feel internally when I go through and I accomplish what I set out to achieve. And, you know, some people will probably sitting there listening to me say that and say, well, that's kind of self-serving and I kind of do that already. But here's where the difference is. After the emotion wears off, you're going to hit a problem. You're going to hit an obstacle. You're going to get in a position to where all of a sudden you don't feel that nervous energy like you did when you were a kid. And it's going to get mundane and redundant. And you're going to say, like you do on a diet, like you do on a workout program or whatever, a reading program or whatever else you're trying to accomplish. And when you want to put it down, you have to have the discipline to take that picture and go, I'm focusing on what the end result is, but you got to focus on it by visualizing. Because if I don't visualize, then what happens? I think about what's happening in this moment. I kick it off till tomorrow. And then as I shared my own life with this book, tomorrow becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow, becomes tomorrow. Then all of a sudden I wake up and I can't do it. You're never going to hear somebody on their deathbed complain about what they did. They're going to complain about what they didn't do when time was up. That visualization is one of the keys to the 12 steps, because the visualization is something that I have to keep in my mind constantly to remind me when I hit that obstacle to bring that picture of success back in my mind and what that looks like and how that feels, so I can there's scientific data that you can almost get the same euphoria picturing something as you can if you actually achieve something. So you have to be careful actually when you're doing those things, so that you don't actually get the feeling in regards to not wanting to achieve it anymore psychologically or subconsciously, because you experience that euphoria. But that is the feeling that you have to keep forward in order to go forward and achieve. If we go into step one, I kind of give you a peek into the book. Step one is about repairing your self-esteem. Because whenever I got started as a young person, I had a lot of knowledge. I had a lot of ability. I had a lot of opportunity. But I had this situation is people like me from places like us can't get to where the other folks go. And there's levels of self-esteem, because a lot of people in the room is going to go, well, my self-esteem's high. Depends on what it is. Some people feel good about their looks, but they feel terrible about some of the things in their professional life. How many people are in this room say, well, I couldn't get up in front of people and speak? Is it that you couldn't get up in front of people and speak? Or you've never gotten in front of somebody and spoken? You've never executed through those fears because your self-esteem is stopping you from moving forward in that particular category. And the first step to being able to move anywhere in success is to fix that self-esteem. But the first thing you have to do is you have to sit down and you got to make a list of what those things were. In my case, the self-esteem was, I knew I had the ability. I knew I had the tools. I knew I had the opportunity. But I was scared to stand in front of the room and fail. And people go, look at him, look at him, look at him. But was I really scared of that? Or was I scared that I was going to stand in front of somebody, not be able to do it, and then beat myself to the portion where I wasn't going to be able to do it again? Sorry, I had to read the note. A little inroad, if you want to know what I read, John's here. So, hey, reality shows are what it's all about now, so we got to be in reality, right? And so that's kind of the sneak peek into the book itself. Is it's going to give you 12 actual steps that you can apply to your life. Not 12, like I said earlier, not 12 things that you're going to get up and do every morning, but 12 concepts that when you apply to your life is going to shorten your runway and help you get further faster. It's going to be an application that if you take the step, now you do have to take the steps in order, because there's going to be things that you're going to have to fix, repair, and apply that build on the next step. There's going to be times that as you go down that step, you're going to get stumped in the process, and you're going to have to rewind and go back to step 2 and then to bring you back to step 5. But I think that's kind of the way life works, doesn't it? Don't we have to constantly evaluate? Don't we have to constantly rewind and relook? Don't we have to constantly get going and realize that I started down this road and that I've kind of stumbled? The difference is with the visualization is I do it quicker. The difference is with the intentionality, I learn about it faster. And the difference is borrowing from other people's experience, the realization comes a lot faster than it does when I experience defeat. And it's in my mind, it's too late or too far gone. Does that make sense? In my particular position, it took me having a life-threatening condition to make me stop and really want to go after my goals. Don't get me wrong. My business goals, I was mildly, moderately successful. But the definition of success is not what the world thinks of me or not what the world thinks I executed on. Each one of you in this room, when you get up in the morning and you're brushing your pearly whites, and hopefully you do when you wake up, you can look in that mirror and you know what you're capable of. And tonight when you come home and you're brushing them again, hopefully you do it twice, you know what you did. And the opportunity is what's left there. And it's what I look at and what I get in a situation to change for the next day. And where the self-esteem comes in is the people who have low self-esteem beat themselves up rather than go, I'm capable, I can do it, I left it on the field yesterday, but I'm not going to do it today. And that's kind of the sneak peek. The next gentleman I want to bring up is a mentor and a friend of mine. I was telling the pastor when we were back there about how I came to follow John and John's leadership principles. And it's, a quick story. I told John for the first time when we were in Arthur Blank's office during one of his leadership exchange events. I was working as a director of training for a big company, and my job was to find corporate education at the time and find books and training materials. And a guy gave me a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership as one of John's signature books. I took it, I looked at it, I flipped through it, and I said, this is a book by a pastor. Go find me a business leader. And I put it. And at those times, I'm telling you my age, we had those little roller bags that you put your computers in, right? And I put it in there. And then I left that company and I became an entrepreneur in my own business. And what I realized is if I walked out the door, this is the story I was told you I was going to tell you. If I walked out the door, nothing happened. I mean, absolutely nothing happened. And it exhausted me to the point I almost went into crisis. And I was sitting back in my office, and I just, out of nervous energy, I was unzipping that bag and just kind of looking through it to see what was in there, and I pulled that book out. And when I went home the next morning, I started reading that book, and it was like John was in the living room with me going, now Brett, now Brett, now Brett, now Brett. And what I realized was when I was working in corporate America, I had people that were just as motivated, more educated, and they were pushing me harder than I was pushing myself. The kind of business that I had, they could work for me, they could go down the street and work for somebody else, and I had to be a leader in order to motivate those folks. And that's when I turned to John and started following his leadership. I would like you to, welcome John Maxwell. He's a New York Times bestseller list. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is still one of the best-selling books out there. If you hadn't read it, get it. My friend John Maxwell.
Hey, gosh, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you too, John.
Oh, my, hi.
Now, before I walk off, this is my first event that I've actually organized. And so John called me Wednesday so we could synchronize what we talked about. And I said, John, I don't know if 500 are going to show up. I don't know if 10 are going to show up. But I'd really like to show out since we got you coming. He said, Brett, he goes, 13 people was at my first event, and half of them were related to me. So, John, we beat you.
You did much better than me. Oh, my gosh. I love you, man.
I love you
Thanks
too,
for
man.
having me.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, you may be seated. Wow, I'm so glad to be here with you. I will feel just a hair rush because literally, this is crazy. I was speaking in Atlanta and just finished at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So anyway, so here I am with my great friend, Brett. And by the way, I'm so excited about your book. And this is this not true? Is this not like where you're launching it? This is it. This is the first time you've had it out here.
I wanted to launch it with you.
Oh, I want it, and you got to sign one for me.
I will.
You understand? Did you sign one for the people?
Yeah, I signed one for the VIP. I wanted you to sign one.
You wanted me to sign? That sounds like that's going on eBay. Yeah, sign that thing. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do. We'll sign one together. Wouldn't that be fun, huh? Okay, in fact, come on. Let's make it official right now. Now, this is your book, so you sign the top. You get the top billing, okay?
You should get the top.
No. Brett, he's a longtime, beautiful friend of mine, has taken trips with me, been to my house. We've done Super Bowl together. We did. I love this guy, and I just thank God for you and for your time. Look at this. Now, isn't that fun? I want you to have this, okay? All right. I'm proud of you. I really am. And this is your first book, right?
It's the first one.
And I've written 90. So you only have 89 to go?
No, I'm gonna have to do 90 because I got to get over 91.
Oh, you got to. Well, no, I'm going to keep writing. And by the way, that's no big deal if you've written 90 books. Think about it. If you've written 90 books, you just have to be old. This is your first. Isn't this beautiful? Let's see. What's the date? October what? 6. This is kind of like fun.
Absolutely. It's fun for me.
Wait. Let's get a picture. Come here. Who's got a camera here? I love this. Okay. We'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll do this. There you are. It's your book. It's your. Oh, give him a hand. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. I'm so delighted to be with you. Thanks for coming on a Friday night. And if it's okay, I would like to. I talked to Brett a little bit about what he was going to talk about, and you're talking about the book and success. I caught you in the green room, and so I caught like 15 minutes of what you said. I didn't catch it all because I just got here. But anyway, is it okay? I would like to talk to you about success also. Is that all right? So let's just make it a success night, okay? And what I would like to do is, first of all, look at your neighbor and say, take good notes because I really want you to be successful. Tell them that. Take good notes. And then, now that you said that, to look right back at him and say, why do you think I brought you here tonight? So let's talk about success, okay? First of all, let me go back to when I was 35. I'm 76. When I was 35, I had the 10th largest church in America. I had just made the Amazon Hall of Fame in writing books. I had this company that was doing extremely well. And I got a little concerned because I was seeing friends of mine who were successful, but they seemed to be getting in trouble, just kind of losing their way. And so I thought, I've got to figure this out. I've got to make sure that I don't lose my way. And so I decided that I would for myself develop a personal definition of success. What does success mean to me? It's not your definition. It isn't what you think it is for me. It's what I have to say in my own heart. If I do this and if I am this, I'm successful. Does that make sense? Just kind of I would call it like something to stabilize me, something, Jesus talks about the house built on the sand, the house built on the rock. And honestly, you really never know there's a problem until there's a storm. When everything is going good, you don't know there's a problem. But storms have a tendency to separate players from pretenders. And so I started saying, well, how do I stay solid with all this stuff happening, and how do I not lose my way? So I'll give you my personal definition of success because it really works for me, okay? And I'll give it to you, not because it should be yours, it's just, it fits me. And for 41 years, it really keeps me solid, okay? And here's what I think success is for me. Success for me is having the people who know me the best love and respect me the most. That's success. In other words, the people that really know me, they just know me really well. My family, you with me? My closest friends, my inner circle people, the people who are in my companies that are with me daily. Because what happens is, if they really know me well, what does that mean? They know my strengths, they know my weaknesses, they know my idiosyncrasies, they know my good days, they know my bad. Are you with me? They know me. They really know me. And I think success is having people who know you the best love and respect you the most. Let me flip it. I think there's something wrong with a person if the people who like you the best are the people who don't know you. Don't you think you got a problem? And so that's been just a stabilizer for me. And, so I'm just going to enjoy it. Is it okay if we just talk for a while? And I'll teach and talk. And I'll be cognizant of the time. I don't want to hold you too long, but I'll just teach and talk a little bit. During this same time, I had a mentor, Fred Smith. And I was in San Diego, and he came out to see me, and we had one of these long 3-hour lunches, and it was a life-changing lunch for me. I was just getting my personal definition of success. And he came out to me, and he opened the conversation. We were having lunch. He said, John, I'll bet a lot of people come up to you and tell you you're amazing. And because I was pastoring this church, and he said, I bet they say, oh, that was an amazing sermon, amazing. He said, do a lot of people just, well, that was an amazing talk, or, that's an amazing book, amazing. And I looked at him and I said, well, yeah, there are, I hear people say I'm amazing quite often. And this is life-changing. He looked at me and said, the reason I'm here is I just wanted to tell you, you're not amazing. Now, this is beautiful. He said, in fact, there's nothing amazing about you. He said, when people come up and tell you you're amazing, they're confusing your giftedness with you. Fasten your seatbelts. Because he said your giftedness is amazing. Your books, your speaking, your leadership, it's amazing. But he said they're gifts, John. They're gifts. They're from God. They're not yours. In fact, he said the reason they're called gifts is because you don't deserve them. You didn't earn them. You didn't like out-spiritualize somebody or out-praise somebody or get. He said, God just looked at you and said, I think I'll bless you. So he said they're a gift. And they come from God. And when people watch your giftedness, they think you're amazing. But he said, you're not amazing. It's your gift. They confuse your giftedness with you. And then he said, he was a wonderful friend, great mentor. And then he looked at me and said, in fact, John, I know you well. You're very human. He said, you're kind of like one step from stupid. Don't you love it? He said, you're one step from stupid. And of course, I'm laughing. I said, well, yeah, you're close. Probably maybe half, step to stupid. That changed my life. So that whenever, anything good happens to me, I was just in Lima, Peru, and spoke to 1,500 CEOs there. And, they're on their feet. And every time I walk off the stage and they're clapping, cheering, I look up at God and say, they're applauding your giftedness. They're not applauding me. I just happen to be the person that the gift comes out of. And I say that because I think it's important in our life to get what I call stabilizers. In fact, I write 3 books at a time, okay? So I just finished a book called How to Receive a Return on Failure. And it's just a big speech I give in the corporate world because I talk about how failure is such an asset when you understand it correctly and how to receive a return on that failure. And so I just wrote it, but I'm not going to publish it quite yet because my second book, the middle book that I'm really writing right now, is one I want to get out as quickly as I possibly can. So I'll get it out probably next March. But it's called High Road. The High Road. See, I'm so sorry. I write so many books. I'm sorry, that's terrible. It's not that I write so many books, it's I'm so old and I'm forgettable. The other day, Margaret and I have been married for 54 years. And the other day we were in the car. She said, John, we're forgetting everything. I said, we are, baby, we're forgetting everything. She said, I got a plan. I said, well, what's your plan? She said, you remember who we are and I'll remember where we're going. Hey, and it's working. It's really working. When we started dividing these tasks, we're doing a lot better. But I'm writing a book right now that'll come out probably March, April called High Road Leadership with the subtitle, Bringing People Together in a World That Divides. Because we have leaders that divide people now. It's very sad, and very leadership sad. And so that book will come out next. But I'm writing the third book, and I'm just forming this one. I'm having fun. What I do when I start writing a book is I start talking about it, and I start throwing stuff out, and I find out what works with the audience, because they'll tell you. They'll tell you if it's any good or not. You follow what I'm saying? And so I remember I was in Dallas, Texas many years ago, and I was talking about failure, and I said, I like to teach people how to fail forward. And the moment I said that, the audience goes, ah. I said, okay, that's a title. So I'm writing a book called Success Stabilizers. And it's a book like what I'm really talking about right now. Just how do you just stabilize yourself so you do the right thing and you don't become arrogant, all the things that happen to people that experience success. Okay. So, because of your book, and I'm so excited for you, and by the way, I just want to also say, Brett, there's nothing like seeing your book for the first time when it comes out in print. You just look at it and say, that's my baby. And so I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you. And I've had that happen 90 times. And I want you to know, I remember every time when I saw the book for the first time. It never gets old. Because you see, the reason I write books is I had a mentor. His name was Les. I never intended. I'm having such a good time with you. Do you mind if I just talk to you and we're okay? Are we? Say, I had a. What's that?
I said, I thought you were going to say when I'm on the way to the airport, I'm going to tell you that you're one step from stupid.
No. Well, I'm to that too. Hey, you had your turn. Let me do this, Brad. Let me do this. I'm just kidding you. I'm just kidding you. So anyway, I forgot what I was telling you. I was talking about success stabilizers. I was talking about what? Oh, Les, thank you. Oh my gosh. What's your name? Brian. Stay close, Brian. Yeah, I could call on you 2 or 3 times today. You know, just be ready. You follow me? The moment that you see me just hesitate, just blurt it right out. You follow me? Oh, I love that. If you're really good, you may travel with me. You follow what I'm saying? But yeah, so he was a mentor, and he had written 6 books. I hadn't written any books. I hadn't planned on writing any books. So we're having lunch, and I said, Les, why do you write books? And he told me, he said, I write books so I can extend my influence to places where I'll never go, to people I'll never meet. As soon as he told me that, I leaned into him, and I said, Les, I'm going to become a writer. And I wanted to be a writer just to add value to people, to help people who maybe I'll never meet, but yet they'll pick up the book. And that's what's going to happen with you too. It's very rewarding for you to have something that you're going to have people that are just going to read the book, and it's going to be a turnaround. And I'm so happy for you. So let me tell you what I think. I've given you my personal definition of success. Now I'm going to give you a definition I think that you can have for yourself for success, okay? Now, by the way, I would encourage every one of you to develop your own personal definition of success. That is a great discipline. I would encourage you to take your time and make sure it's yours. The only thing that it just has to be yours. And so it won't be mine, but once you have one, it just grounds you. But let me tell you what I think success. Let me do this teaching for a little bit, and then I'll get out of your hair. I think success is 3 things, okay? I think, first of all, success is knowing my purpose in life. I think that it has to start there. Knowing my purpose. Why am I here? There are 2 great days in a person's life. The day they were born and the day they discovered why. And the discovering why changes everything. See, everybody basically knows the day they were born. But a lot of people have never yet discovered why they were born. And there's something incredible that happens to you and to me in our life once we discover our purpose. I think that's foundational. I think that's what I build my success on. So let's talk about finding your purpose. I think there are 2 pathways that you can take to find your purpose. I think one's better than the other, but I think both work. I think one's about 100%. I think the other's maybe about 70% will get you there. But let me give you both, because these are 2 paths, because people all the time come to me and they say, well, John, how do I find my purpose in life? It's a great question. And so let me take you down 2 paths for a few minutes to discover your purpose in life. So the first one is not the most accurate, but I start here because I think it's the one that we take first, usually. So if you were to sit down, say we're at the table and we're talking, you said, John, how do I find my purpose in life? The first thing I would ask you is this, very simple. What is your passion? Give me what you're passionate about. Just go to where your heart is. Don't go where your mind is. Just go to your heart. Is there something in your life that you're just really passionate about? Because here's what I know. You were created with giftedness, and you were created for a purpose. And normally, what you really care about is usually in the area of what you should be doing. Now, not always. So it's the reason I say this is about 70% accurate. I'm going to give you one that's 100% accurate in a moment. But I like to start with this one. So it's possible for you to be passionate about something, stay with me, that you're not good at. Are you with me? I love to play golf. I really do. I just enjoy it. I don't get to play a lot because of my schedule, but I love to play golf. So that's the good news. The bad news is I'm not that good of a golfer. You with me? But I love to play golf. In fact, I was out with a guy that's a good golfer, and so we were playing, and after a couple holes, he said, John, he said, really, I'm watching your game. He said, honestly, I find only one problem with your game. And I thought, oh my gosh, anybody can fix a problem. One problem was kind of encouraging to me. I said, well, what's my problem? He said, you're too close to the ball after you hit it. That's a problem. That's a problem that's a problem that leads to several other problems. But anyway. So I love golf. But let me explain something to you. It's not my calling. It's not my purpose. If you have something you're passionate about but you're not good at, don't make it a career. My name's John. I'm your friend. Don't make a career. Make it a hobby. It's good to have a hobby. You don't have to be good at a hobby. Don't make it a career. But think about what are you passionate about? Because whatever you're passionate about, there's a good chance that that's probably what your purpose should be. I was doing a conference, and I was citing books at break. And I was speaking about 2,000 leaders at this conference, and it was an all-day leadership deal, and it was the afternoon break, so I'm in 3/4 of the day. I'm teaching leadership, and we're having a great time. People are having a wonderful time learning, taking notes. So this kid comes up to me while I'm signing books, and he said, I'm loving this leadership stuff that you're doing. And he said, I made a decision. I said, well, what's your decision? He says, I decided I want to do what you do. I want to teach leadership to thousands of people. I want to write books, millions of people to buy. He said, I've just decided I want to do what you do. I said, well, that's good. I said, could I ask you a question? He said, well, yeah. I said, would you like to do what I did so you can do what I do? Of course you want to do what I do. I want to do what you do. I want to have 7 car dealerships, Brett, okay? I'd like to have that. I want to do what you do. See, we look at a person and we say, oh, I want to do what they do. And what we don't understand is you don't get to do it until you did it. You did it, and then you got to do it. And if you did it don't do it. Are you with me? See, of course. See, the dream is free, but the journey isn't. See, so people fall in love with the dream, and I say, well, that's good. It means absolutely nothing. It's the journey. It's what you and I, the price we pay to get there. So, yeah, I would like to do what you do, but would you like to did what I did so you could do what I do? And the problem is we want to do the do, but we don't want to do the did. And if you don't do the did, you can't do the do. So don't look at the do and say, I want to do what you do, until you look at the did and say, I want to did what you did so I could do what you do. And if you don't do the did, you can't do the do. And honestly, if you don't do the did, you're just in deep doo-doo. Huh? What's your passion? When I was in college, I had a professor one day. This was huge. He said, there are 3 questions, students, I want you to think about all your life. What do you sing about? What do you cry about? What do you dream about? He said, if you can answer those 3 questions, you'll find your passion. And I can remember writing them down in class. I thought, those are great questions. What do you sing about? What do you cry about? What do you dream about? And of course, I'm a freshman in college, so there's no depth here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just writing the questions down because I'm thinking about a girl that I'd ask out. So, what do you dream about? I dreamed about her going out on a date with me. What did I cry about? She said no. And, I went back and said, I'd like to sing. Could we try this one more time? Now, just follow your passion. What do you really care for? Because the world is changed by people with passion. Just understand that. The world has changed with people who really care. So, that's one path. You can go the passion path, but there's another one, and this will take you 100%. I guarantee you, this will get you to your purpose in life. It's going to take a little while, but it'll get you where you want to go. So, what am I passionate about? That's good. And passion's the great energizer, okay? I mean, that's why I'm here tonight. Think about it. I spoke at 7 this morning. I spoke at 9 this morning. I spoke at noon today. I spoke at 3 today, 2:30. I'm speaking here. Now, think about that. Somebody says, how can you do this? It's very simple. High energy, low IQ. It just works. You see, if you had a high IQ, you wouldn't do it. If you had low energy, you couldn't do it. But I have that perfect storm. But I'm having fun with you, but there's a reason I'm here. I'm passionate. Passionate about adding value to people. I'm passionate about friendships, relationships. Of course, be glad to come over. What can I do? He's a beautiful friend. He's helped me tremendously in my nonprofit work and changing lives around the world. I mean, I'm a lucky person. You're my friend. So people all the time, they'll say, well, when are you going to retire? Well, I don't plan to retire. Sorry. And then people look and say, and then they kind of start feeling sorry for me, and they'll say, well, can you? Well, I think I can. Are you able to? Are you financially okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I've sold 37 million books. Do the math. I'm okay. I'm going to make it. Well, then why don't you retire? Because I don't want to. But somebody told me the other day, I think I'm retired now because somebody the other day said, you're retired when you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Well, I said, then I'm retired. I'm right here tonight doing what I want to do when I want to do it. I want to be with you for a little bit. I don't get a long time. We just get a moment, then we go our ways. But I sow seeds, I deposit. And think about it. Is there anything better to do tonight than to add value to people and help them and come alongside my friend and applaud his book and say, I'm proud of you? If there's something better, somebody's going to have to show me. So passion's huge. But the second one, this is 100%er. You've got to discover what your natural giftedness and strength is. You've got to get in what I call your strength zone. And every one of you have natural giftedness, and every one of you in this room, you have natural strengths. All of us have. You do, I do, we all do. Are you with me? So we all have this. So there's nobody left out here in the room. But you got to discover what it is. And here's why you need to discover what your is. When you find your strength, you double down on your strength. You work on the things that you are naturally good at. In fact, this is so anti the culture we grow up in. in the culture we grow up, when you go to school, they tell you to work on your weaknesses. So if you got an A in math and you got a C in English, they say, well, now get that English grade up, get that English grade up. And I'm here to tell you, if you got an A in math and a C in English, don't work on your English. You're probably lucky to have a C. Just thank God. Move on as fast as you can. Work on your math. And here's why you have to stay in your strength zone. And here's why you have to work on your strength zone. Let's use numbers for a moment. From a 1 to a 10. In the area of giftedness ability, you can only, if you work hard, increase your number by 2. Maybe once in a while by 3. So let's just say I work on my weakness. Let's say I'm a 2 in something. I'm not very good at it. From a 10, I'm a 2 out of a 10. I'm very weak. What does that mean? That means if I really work hard on my weakness, I could become a 3 or I could become a 4. Well, a 4 is still below average. And people don't pay for average. Nobody pays for average. They don't come to your car dealership because you have an average car dealership. They don't go and kind of flip a coin, where do I go today? You don't go, you don't look at your wife and say, hey, baby, we've worked hard today. Let's go to an average restaurant. What do you think? Wouldn't that be let's just not a great one. No. Average, just average. And you know how you find an average restaurant? You go by it and it's open, but nobody's there. That's a sign. That's a sign right there. Not too many cars. And you go in the average restaurant, and you got some, precious person's going to, hostess going to seat you. And you don't look at it and say, now, let me explain something to you. We'd like to have an average table. I know there's one over there with a window overlooking the ocean. I got that. We don't want that one. Could we just have an average table? So they take you to an average table at an average restaurant, and then you don't look at the host and say, could you give us an average waiter? Would that be all right? We'd like to have somebody wait on us that doesn't see us for about 30 minutes. They just pass us, and we wave to them, and they just keep on. Somebody that messes up the order. You know what I'm saying? And when they come, you don't say, now I would like to have some average food, and I don't want to know what your specialties are. I don't know we don't just come on, talk to me. No, and then you don't get done with that. Walk out and say, oh my gosh, huge. We got to come back. You don't go back to average stuff. It's beyond me why people are so in love with average. I don't understand it at all. People don't pay for average. If you work on your weaknesses, at best, you'll be average. But let's say you're a little bit above average. Now we're talking about your strength. We're talking about your natural giftedness. Let's say from a 1 to a 10, maybe you're a 7. You're a little bit above. Now, if you work on a 7, you can become an 8. With hard work, you can become a 9. And when you become a 9, you set yourself apart from everybody. People stand in line for 9s. So find out what your strength is. Find out what you're really good at, and then you just double down on it, and you go working in these areas. Let me give you a perfect example. When I started off as a pastor at a little country church, I have a degree in counseling, but I was a terrible counselor. Oh my God. I'm not being humble. I was terrible. I was so bad I wouldn't go to myself for counseling. It was just terrible. I don't have any patience. I would have people come in for counseling, and they'd sit down, and they'd talk to me for 30 minutes about the problem. And it's obvious, as soon as they start talking about the problem, I've got answers for you. And so I got my little legal pad, and I'm giving them kind of a 3-step, do this, you know what I mean? And when they're done, I'm kind of excited because they told me about their problem, and I gave them a 3-step solution, and I would tear off that sheet, and I look at them and say, be healed. And then about the next month, they'd come back again. And I said, I thought I healed you. And then, you know what, they found another problem. And I thought, oh my gosh, how many of these are we going to find? Well, for some, it's a spiritual gift. Then they would tell me the problem, and I'd get so discouraged. I thought, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And then I would get impatient because they kept coming back. And then I found that I was losing my spiritual side completely. I knew I was in trouble the day when I just got worn out with one. I mean, they were just wearing me out. And you know, and I just offered like to drive him to a bridge. I just thought, you know, yeah, I'll take you. It's free. It's not a problem at all. What's discouraging about it is by the time I got to the bridge, I was so discouraged, I said, could I jump with you? You know, could we hold hands and do this together? I was a terrible counselor. In fact, when I told my little congregation in South Indiana that I was no longer going to counsel them, they started clapping. They started, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, free at last, free at last, free at last. I'm a terrible counselor. It's not my strength, it's my weakness. My life totally changed the day I realized I was an equipper, not a counselor. See, when you counsel people, you work on their weaknesses. When you equip people, you work on their strengths. I'm awesome on working on your strengths, your weaknesses. I'll drive you to the bridge. Now, the moment I became an equipper instead of a counselor, I now have the largest equipping organization in the world. We've trained over 6 million leaders in every country of the world. The moment I found my strength, all of a sudden I could take off. Does this make sense? So, knowing my purpose in life, what am I passionate about? What am I good at? If you could answer those, and by the way, when you're passionate about what you're good at, you are in clover. Just go for it. You're going to do really well, and you're going to really discover your purpose. So, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Can I have 5 more minutes? Okay. Well, honestly, it's your fault because you're so fun to teach. If you were like boring, I'd be gone by now. I'm going to go home and see Margaret. I haven't seen her for 8 days. Okay, so I can hardly wait. And the rest of it's none of your business. Anyway. Knowing my purpose in life. Number 2, success is not only knowing what my purpose is, but it's growing to my maximum potential. Success has to include personal growth and development. And I am so passionate about learning, passionate about growing. Life-changing. My father, when he was 92, we were having lunch one day, and he's 92. Get the picture. And he looked at me and he said, son, he said, I've been praying, I've been thinking about my life. He leans into me with a big smile and said, I really think my greatest days are still ahead of me. He's 92. He thinks his greatest days are still ahead of him. I know people 22 who can't say that. Huge. Now, why did he feel that way? Because he was growing. He was learning. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm writing another book. Well, I got a list. Okay. In fact, I was talking to God. I got 13 books in the queue. I was talking to God about it the other day. I said, look at this. 13 books. I said, honestly, God, you're going to have to let me live quite a long time. As if he said, oh, thank you very much. I had no idea. But I'm writing a book. It's going to be called, Is There a Finish Line? It's a great question. Is there a finish line? And the reason it's a question is because for some people there is. There are a lot of people, they have what I call self-imposed finish lines. They say, you know what, I get a certain age, I'll retire. I make a certain amount of money, I'm done. And they do these what I call self-imposed finish lines. Now, let me explain something to you. If you have a self-imposed finish line and you cross it, you're finished. What part of that do you not understand? I have no finish line. Still stretching, still learning, still growing. In fact, when I was 25, I heard Earl Nightingale say, this is huge. He said, if you'll spend 1 hour a day, every day, on the same subject for 5 years, you'll become an expert on that subject. And I was 25, and I was very much excited about leadership and learning how to lead. And so I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 1 hour a day, every day, on the subject of leadership for 5 years. And Earl Nightingale says, in 5 years, I'll become an expert on leadership. And so I started, and every day, I read leadership, I practiced leadership, talked to leaders, asked questions, leadership every day, an hour, leadership. And every day, because he said it was 5 years, I'd say, well, how long will it take? You know, well, 5, 4, I'm 3, I think I'm Cape Canaveral. And I'm halfway through the 5 years. Every day, how long will it take? 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 One day I stopped asking that question. Because what happened in the process is I started to grow as a leader. And I started to understand leadership. People started to follow me. I started to be able to teach people how to lead. All of a sudden, I'm starting to grow as a leader, and I got so excited about my growth and my development, and I saw I was becoming a leader. And I quit asking, how long will it take? And I started asking a question that I'm still asking today. Not how long will it take? How far can I go? How far can I go? How far can I go? Thank you. And can I tell you this? I don't know. I'm still running. I'm still growing. I don't know how far I can go. I have no idea, but I know I'm not there yet. And this is huge. The moment that you begin to understand personal growth and how it develops you, it's huge. It's just huge. So I think success is knowing my purpose in life, growing to my maximum potential, and let me give you one more. Then I'll get out of your hair. Thirdly, I think it's sowing seeds that benefit others. I think success is about the seeds I sow. The success of my day is not determined by the harvest I reap. The success of my day is determined by the seeds that I sow. If you sow seeds, harvesting is automatic. So I've discovered in my life, every day deposit seeds. Every day add value to people. Every day bless them. Every day give first. Always give first. Every day. Make sure that you add more value than you take. Because you see, every one of us in this life, we're either a plus or a minus. We're either contributing and adding value to people, or to be honest with you, we're sucking life out of them. And we're a minus. And the ability and the willingness and the commitment to every day sow seeds. Let me close with this. Just been a couple of interesting places. I was just in Deer Valley. I did a round table for 40 billionaires. Just 40 incredible, highly successful, rich people. If I gave you, you would know some of the people. So they asked me to just spend some time with them, and I did. And here's what I shared with them. I know a lot of successful people, a lot, that are very unhappy, very unfulfilled. I mean, I know a lot of unhappy, successful people. They've got homes, boats, planes, stuff, but they're not fulfilled. They're not happy. And the reason they're not happy is because they're living for themselves. It's all about them. Let me tell you something. There's a successful life and there's a significant life. And I want you to be successful, so I'm not anti-success. But I want you to be successful so you can have a significant life. A successful life is all about you and me. A significant life is all about others. I know people that are successful that are very unhappy, but I've never met a person who lived a life of significance. One of the things I admire about you is you live a life of significance. You have committed yourself intentionally, Brett, to helping other people. It's one of the things I greatly admire about you. You're a successful man, but you're a significant man. You take success without significance, it gets shallow real quick. Selfishness, significance, incompatible. I had a lady the other day. I was going to quit, but I'll tell you one more story. A lady come up to me the other day, and she said, I just want you to know, I'm not a selfish person. And I smiled, and I said, that's nice. And I thought to myself, well, you're not a selfish person, but you're very delusional. Of course she's selfish. I'm selfish. We're born selfish. I mean, look at a toddler. There's no maturity there. There's no thinking of others there. And if you think you're not selfish, let me ask you a question. The next time a person takes a picture of you and your friends, you're in a group picture, and you see that picture, let me ask you a question. When you see that picture, who is the first person that you look for? And if you look good, you say, oh my gosh, great picture, send that to me. Send that to me, it's a great picture, great. And if it's not any good, you know what you do if it's not any good? You say, do it again, let's do it again, come on, let's do it again. You're the only one that looked bad in the picture and you want to do it again. We all have that. But the moment that we begin to understand that we're to be our brother or sister keeper, that we're here on this life to give, to add value, to sow, once we begin to live an intentional, significant life, we'll be fulfilled, we'll have meaning, we'll have purpose. And I think that's what success is, knowing my purpose in life, growing to my maximum potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others. And my name is John, and I'm your friend. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Wasn't that a treat? I tell you that if you'd asked me years ago if I'd be sitting up here with John launching a book, I would have said I don't think that's possible. But what we all like to do is spend a few minutes. Emily, are you out there? You got a mic? Okay. Emily's going to come to you. We're going to do a Q&A. Whenever Emily comes to you, just tell them who you like the question for, whether it's John or myself.
Yeah, just raise your hand if you got a question. Do me a favor. What's your name? Give her the mic.
Hey, John, my name is Max.
Nice to see you.
So my question is, you said you're very, very high energy. I've read a couple of
Can you turn a monitor toward me? I could hear him better if I have a monitor turned toward me. I'm sorry, I'm just deaf. I'm old, I'm deaf. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One. I think it's better without mic. Can I do without mic?
No, I got you. Use the mic. We're good.
You say you're a very high energy person. I read a couple of your books, and I think that's what I'm knowing too, and that's where my path is leading me, God is leading me. Something where I can be very active and like bring that high energy. So basically my question is how to develop that even more in my life.
How to develop energy more?
Yes, how to have as high energy as possible, sir.
Well, I think you already have some.
Thank you.
So here's what I found. Use what you have, and he'll give you more. But don't ask for more to use what you have. So, good question.
right, we have another one.
Hi, thank you so much for helping us. We do marriage ministry in Dominican Republic. God told us to go motivate the pastors and leaders bilingual. This man won't learn Spanish, but he's getting there. So how can we motivate the pastors and the churches to support us more to come to Dominican Republic more often and help other marriages, like leadership, like helping them to be successful in their marriage?
I go to the Dominican Republic. We do some leadership there.
So thinking you come with us on May? And I could give you my book also. I got it for you.
Is it for me?
Yes.
Really?
It's
Thank you.
everything started with a coffee. He will make me a cup of coffee every day.
Started with the coffee.
Yes, and in the back is in Spanish if you want to read it in Spanish.
And you signed it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So how can we motivate the pastors and leaders? We want to help them in their marriages, and we bring this leadership. And maybe you come with us on May. It's a like all-inclusive resort. It's really nice. We just come back from there.
Keep the mic from her from now on. No, you're contagious. I love your enthusiasm. I love your love for God, your love to help people. This is going to be helpful to you, okay? When you feel called to do something like go to the Dominican Republic, help pastors, you want to ask God to give you fruit. Because when you become fruitful, that's when people begin to help you and support you. In other words, you're known by your fruit. And so I always have said, God, before I ask somebody to help me to help people. And if I help people, then they'll begin to see the fruit, and then they come alongside and they help support it. Does that make sense to you? So I've always said, help me to be fruitful, and the fruitfulness will attract people to the work and the ministry to where they'll help support it and get it going. So that's what we'll pray. We'll just pray that God will help you be very fruitful in your work there. You follow me? It's like I had a guy one time that was an evangelist, and he said, God called me to evangelism, but no church ever calls me to preach. I said, I think I'm missing something. I think God's confused. So you want to do the fruitfulness and then follow up. That's a good question. Blessings. All right, we'll pray for that for you. Okay, yeah, good question. Next. Another question? When I put my hand up, I'm just shielding the light so I can see your face. That's all. Okay.
Hi, I'm Todd, and I was wondering, how have you seen leadership change over the years, like maybe over the last 20, 25 years?
Well, leadership's just like baseball. It's the same game, but the game's never the same. But it's the same game. It's a baseball game. You know, you got bases, everything's, I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but the game itself is different, and leadership is the same way. And I think the biggest difference in leadership is when I started out 50 years ago, leadership was title, position. You know, you had the title of a leader, and so you were a leader. And then it became influence. And I think today, with the uncertainty, it's changed even since COVID. I tell leaders now, you got to go find the people before you can lead them. There used to be a time when they found themselves and you could lead them, but now they're lost. And so you got to go find them and lead them. And a book that will really help you with that question, because it's a wonderful question, is a book I wrote called Leader Shift. Okay? And it's all about how to be adjustable, adaptable, flexible, in COVID, how to pivot. And good leaders, they have that gift and stability. I'm starting to hog this thing, friend.
No, go ahead. Whatever they want to do, if they want to ask you questions.
Okay. Does that make sense to you? We're just serving the people. Okay, good question. Another one? This is my friend Sam. He came from Sacramento.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for all the work you've contributed to helping and bettering all of our lives.
Yeah,
Wanted to say thank you. And the question is, you know, in the philosophy of leadership you teach, which I love, there's a lot of empathy and serving people. But when we look at leaders like Steve Jobs and Alexander the Great and Napoleon, they had the servant side, but they also had a little brutal side to them. Now, if your goals and ambitions are high, going really far and big, is there a fine line between empathy and holding people accountable and being a little harder, or is you could achieve that just by empathy. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think leaders are strong. I think leaders hold people accountable. So I think it's not just being easy or soft. I think there's a tough part of leadership. You got to make decisions. Sometimes people have a hard time with, and you have to kind of stay strong. I do believe this. You hear this phrase, "It's lonely at the top." It's kind of an American phrase, which means if you're a leader, you're lonely at the top. And I'm not really. That's true to a certain extent. There's loneliness about leadership. But honestly, if you're lonely all the time at the top, you don't have a leadership problem. You got a personality problem. People just don't like you. You follow me? You got a relationship problem. So I think the foundation of leadership is relationships. And I take that from the greatest leader ever, Jesus. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. So there's got to be a lot of caring, a lot of compassion, a lot of love. So I think relationships are the foundation of leadership. But I think that there are times when you have to be strong and have courage. There's a lot of courage needed in leadership, but you always got to here's the difference. Here's what. Leaders should always motivate people. They move people. But when I motivate you, I move you for your advantage. Leaders should never manipulate people. When I manipulate you, I move you for personal advantage. That's always. So when I deal with presidents of countries all the time, and when I'm alone with them and everybody's out except the two of us, I talk to them about, are the people better off because of you, or are they worse off? And are you, it's always wrong to manipulate people. So, and here's the problem. Leaders see more than others see, and they see before others see. And if you see more than others see and you see before others see, you can manipulate people. And so that's where the temptation of a leader. And I'd say it's always wrong. We lead to help the people. We lead to lift the people. Anytime it's for me and not for. Anytime I'm a leader and I win and you lose, I'm not a good leader. It should always be serving you first, because that's what leaders do. They lift people. Good question, Sam. Glad to see. Okay, how we doing, guys? Huh? Got a couple more in you? Yes, sir.
Hey, John.
This is my helper. He's the one. When I forget something, he just jumps right in.
That's it. My name is Brian, and I am your friend.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
So actually, my wife and I in our organization out in New York, we helped to start V1 Church. Are really good friends with Mike and Julie Signorelli.
Oh my gosh.
I was just talking to him earlier.
Tell him hi. Good people.
Yeah, we will. So he's told me about some of your trips. I'm just curious when the next one is.
Well, my next trip, I take a trip every year with my legacy people. This is huge, and we're going to go to Paul's Journeys next, I think, July. So but you have to be legacy. I don't mean that unkindly, but we can talk. I mean, Brett's he's legacy, because I really take people on trips that are part of my vision and what I'm trying to accomplish. But this is going to be a great trip. We have our own ship. And we'll be able to it'll be just us. It'll be about, and ship holds 180. I'll probably take about 120. So we'll spend 8 days together with Paul, and I'll bring in some special guests. My friend Chris Tomlin kind of wants to go, so we'll see. I may bring Chris along. I was talking to Andre Bercelli recently when I was in Italy, and he wants to come, and so we may have some. We put together great trips. Trust me. Yeah. When we get ready for our, when people go to heaven, they want to come home on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Next.
Hey, John. Cortez. I'm a local pastor here in the Tampa Bay area.
Good to see you, friend.
So I've been pastoring for quite a while, and eventually you come to a point where you begin building leaders and people, but they become complacent. Yes. And you see their potential, you see their ability.
Sure.
Can you give some advice about what you say and how you motivate people that are working with you, around you, when they get to that place?
Sure. You see this in your car dealerships too. Your people become complacent. It's very natural that's a very natural process. Somebody works hard to get a little tired, worn out, plateau, get in a comfort zone. So what I do is very simple. I mean, I'm talking now about key players. I'm not talking about just everybody in your congregation. You wouldn't have time to do this. But if you've got staff members or key players that have kind of gotten a little bit, I don't know, complacent. I just go to them privately, and I say, now let me share something that maybe I don't understand, but it seems to me, and I always put it back on me. It seems to me like you maybe just let off the gas a little bit. You're a little complacent. Is that? What do you think? Do you think? Am I reading it right or am I reading it wrong? And I give them a chance to talk to me about it. Sometimes people become complacent, but they're just unaware. They just slow down, and they need somebody to come and say, "I think maybe you slowed down, and could we pick it back up?" And so sometimes they respond that way. Sometimes they say, "No, I'm not complacent. You're reading it wrong," and maybe I am. But I think the issue is you have to privately go to these people and deal with the issue with them, but deal with the issue in a kind way and in a way that gives them the benefit of the doubt. Because a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, thanks for that. That was a wake-up call. Thanks." And they get back in. What a leader does is a leader makes people aware of what they need to do better. That's what leaders really do. And so that creates that private conversation, creates an awareness. That was a good question.
So
Quickly.
unfortunately, due to time, that was our last question.
Okay, got one more. Okay, who's the last one? Okay, I see a hand back there. I see a hand over here. Are there any others? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lenora, and I'm here from Pinellas County Job Corps, where we have over 300 students that we train, give trades, GEDs, and I would like to have something of this stature to come. We teach leadership, but of course we would like to hear from professionals. So I brought 4 of my students. One of them had to exit out. And we would love to be able to get this kind of information, your literature, your books, so that we can teach them the right way. We have to train them while they're in their youth, and then they'll be more productive out in society. How can we go about getting this information?
Well, first of all, I applaud what you do, and I think it's wonderful. So you're just doing some good things to help. You're helping students. What are their ages that you're helping them?
16 to 25, and we have several trades, everything from plumbing,
That's beautiful.
and
So beautiful.
medical, electrical.
How many students do you have?
facility
How many
We
students?
have a total of 300 students.
How wonderful is that?
It's a blessing. It's a blessing because I actually do it. I minister to them as well. So I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, but a little help doesn't hurt.
Yeah, what I would encourage you to do is go to our nonprofit organization, Equip, and ask them for the values curriculum. It can be given to you online, free, of which you can really work with your students on helping them. When people learn good values and they start living them, they become more valuable. They become more valuable to themselves. They become more valuable to their community. And if you'll just go to Equip and tell them what you have, and they'll get somebody back to you, and we would be glad to, give you that material if you want to use it to help your students.
We appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
and just keep up that good. I really admire people that like you that really pour your life into, especially into students. That's an important thing. So congratulations.
That's
Thank you very
heartfelt.
much.
Thank
Isn't that
you.
good? That
Great
neat?
job.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
All right, why don't you give one more hand clap for John C. Maxwell?
Thank you, buddy.
I'm going to present a check for this charity. Come on, Samuel. They covered up my notes there. We have a beneficiary tonight. It's Somebody Cares Tampa. And what we're doing is we're making a donation to the Somebody Cares Tampa network. They're a network of nonprofit-based supported Tampa organizations that assist individuals and families that are in financial need. Somebody Cares Tampa works in concert with local ministries to provide the basic necessities of life to develop healthy, sustaining communities, families, and individuals. They have a major event which just occurred this past Saturday, September the 30th, called Care Fast. During Care Fast, thousands of volunteers adopt projects around the Tampa Bay area. Those projects include minor home repairs, yard work, painting, and other beautification products for more than 100 homes of elderly, disabled, single parents, and veterans. Volunteers adopt similar projects throughout the year. Somebody Cares Tampa also engages in disaster response. When the Hurricane Ida hit the Florida Panhandle in August, they organized volunteers and brought supplies to those affected during the storm. Last year, provided relief the wake of the devastating Hurricane Ian. Somebody Cares Tampa sent 16 trucks, approximately 400 pounds of goods to Southwest Florida, including to areas hardest hit, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, serving 38,000 Floridians. We're proud to contribute $2,500 to Somebody Cares Tampa, and we'd like to thank them for the fantastic work from the local community. Representing Somebody Cares Tampa on behalf of Ken Johnson, James Judge, who serve on the board. Let's give this organization a great round of applause. Let John give it to him.
Here, one in picture.
Come on, Emma. Get next to John, Emma.
Here, I'm sorry. Here, come on.
Want to give everybody a round of applause again for Somebody Cares Tampa.
That's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful.
Well,
And that's who he is right there. That's the kind of person he is. That's beautiful. Anyway.
Thanks, John. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate you for coming out to our event tonight, Forward Leadership. We have the URL Forward with Brett. You'll see some other stuff out there. We're going to have another event with John next October, but it'll be on the West Coast, but you're more than welcome to travel out there and see it. We're also doing some other book signing events. We're going to have an event in November in Orange County, California with a gentleman named Michael Francis. We appreciate you coming. Thank you very much, and y'all have a good night. God bless.